Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask for unanimous consent to speak out of order for 1 minute to
Without
recognize
objection.
the distinguished services of a member of the committee staff. Thank you very much. I'd like to take this time to express my sincere gratitude for the dedication offered by Lorraine Stewart to our committee since 2001. She has offered her expertise in all facets under the committee's jurisdiction to members of this committee, including Ranking Member LaFosse, then we had Chairman Barney Frank, and myself. Over the course of her service, she has played a lead role in crafting key reforms, none the least of which are the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, and I'm pleased to say that she will be continuing her excellent service, her record of public service at the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Lorraine, we wish you all the best. Please stand for a moment so everybody can see you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for scheduling today's hearing to discuss the important role that fiscal policy plays in contributing to full employment and economic growth. As we continue to climb out of the worst recession since the Great Depression, it is essential that we get our fiscal policies right and that we hold firm our commitment to promoting growth and reducing economic inequality. And while my colleagues on the other side of the aisle endlessly use the national debt as an excuse to slash funding for important government programs, the fact remains that putting America back to work is an economy that works for everyone and is undoubtedly the most effective and efficient way to reduce our debt and deficit. With that in mind, I'm pleased to see that many of the witnesses here agree that Congress can best tackle the long-term deficit and national debt by pursuing short-term increases in discretionary fiscal stimulus. I similarly urge such an approach and would suggest the Chairman consider similar proposals in President's fiscal year 2015 budget request. As we have learned in recent years, both at home as well as in Europe, government austerity during a recession, such as the sequester, impedes growth. Unfortunately, we've learned this lesson in the hard way. In contrast to previous recessions, when the government provided much-needed fiscal stimulus, the recent drastic cuts to discretionary programs have been a headwind to our full recovery. Regardless, our progress towards shrinking the deficit in recent years leads me to believe that the timing of this series of hearings seems to be more inspired by politics than enhancing good policy, especially given the fact that since President Obama took office, the budget deficit has fallen from 10% of GDP in 2009 to 3%, which is the average size of the deficit over the past 40 years. President Obama's new budget proposal will help grow the economy even faster, reducing the deficit to 1.6% of GDP by the year 2024. As further cuts are made to the deficit, they must be balanced with spending priorities that boost growth and fulfill our moral obligation to those in need. The social safety net has proven to be a crucial tool in lowering poverty rates by half. Pretending that cutting these programs would somehow magically lift people out of poverty is neither sensible nor fair. This committee should also advocate for a strong and stable financial system that protects consumers and safeguards the savings of working Americans. Doing so requires full funding for our nation's regulators, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to ensure that the financial services industry adheres to the rules of the road, and we should provide stability to our nation's business community by quickly reauthorizing the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act, known as TRIA, and the Export-Import Bank, both of which increase employment and investment. We should support initiatives to reduce poverty by fully funding HUD's programs that provide public housing, work to end homelessness, and preserve access to affordable rental housing. And this committee should focus on sensible housing finance reform, not the radical remake of our housing finance system as called for by the PATH Act. And finally, Mr. Chairman, this Congress must avoid self-inflicted wounds that have become all too commonplace, like the recent Republican shutdown of the government, threats of defaulting on our debts, and the sequester, all of which hurt economic growth, slow job creation, and widen the gap between rich and poor. I think we can do better, and I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlelady yields back. The chair now recognizes